Merriam-Webster word of the year for 2023 is authenticity. And a lot of people are finding their real authentic self through something that's existed for a long time, the Enneagram. Joining us now to talk all about this is professional coach and the owner of Moxie Mama, Sam Ditka. So
Thanks.
good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Heather.
I think this is fascinating, and yes, it's a little trendy right now, but it's existed for a while. What is Enneagram? What is it?
The Enneagram is kind of a discovery that was made in ancient times with 9 distinct personality types. We are each born into our personality type, and it comes from this tiny grain of sand, like with an oyster, and it's an irritant, and then the personality develops around that in 3 distinct categories and then 9 types within those categories.
So there are 9, can we call them personality types, or how do you describe them?
9 personality types in 3 triads. And the 3 triads are the head, the heart, and the gut.
And this is, when we did our session, this is kind of like, almost like what leads you in most of your daily life. Like if you're in the gut triad, then you might find very instinctual things, like you might walk in and use your gut instinct to kind of lean into.
Correct. And there's a lot of discrepancy in testing people. We automatically use that word, I trusted my gut, but It's often our head and our intuition, and it's our heart that's really leading us. And that can make a real difference in where you land on the chart.
So I grew up mostly in the 90s, like in my true developmental stage. And so I remember all of the teen magazine quizzes that you could take in the magazines. There's a lot of stuff too online where you can take personality tests along the same line with the Enneagram, but there are discrepancies when you do it that way.
The problem with the online tests is they cannot differentiate if you are at a place of stress or of strength. And so working with an Enneagram coach like myself, I was trained with an organization called Inner Life Skills. You can really get to the bottom of what it is that is driving those behaviors that are apparent in your personality.
That's really interesting. And how would someone use this information? Because I think we all like to discover a little bit more about ourselves and helping someone guide us to do that. But how can it be used to better ourselves?
So when I talk about the Enneagram with my clients, I talk about you've got your point of stress and your point of strength. And you want to keep the doors open to both of those, because there are actually a lot of gifts that show up even in your stress that, if properly harnessed, can get you back into that stronger space. And knowing that these are potential pitfalls that you might have can caution you and make sure that you're aware that it's starting to spiral down and get you back into that place of maybe it's wisdom, maybe it's authenticity, whatever your personality goes to in strength.
I wanted to show you, people at home, a little bit of our session. We had a wonderful meeting. We did it over Zoom, and you kind of walked me through how everything was set up, the triads. You asked me a lot of questions about what I was leaning into and how we would make decisions. Tell people at home what a session would typically look like.
Runs between 60 and 90 minutes, and we go through these 3 personality pearls, which is starting with, are you led by your gut? Are you led by your head? Are you led by your heart? And from there, you go through each of the 9 types and really talk about what may have driven you throughout your life and what are those common themes that keep coming up.
You know what I found is, I think I even mentioned it in our conversation, it almost started to feel like therapy a bit, because you are kind of unraveling the true you through this conversation and session.
Absolutely. Coaching is a little different than therapy because we're taking you from where you are today and looking towards the future.
Right.
Whereas therapy will address things in the past, but it's always good to acknowledge those things that have come up in the past.
Sure. That might be why you are where you are.
Absolutely.
Okay, so after our session, you and I kind of started to narrow some things down. Do you have an idea of where I landed?
So you and I had discussed you either being a 6 or a 7, and I think you landed on a 7, which is also what I am.
Yeah. And so tell people at home what a 7 looks like.
So 7 is called the enthusiast. 7s are often, some of the jokes about the 7s are we use multiple exclamation points.
Oh, I do.
We are over busy, over scheduled. We hashtag all the things all the time. You know, I run like 4 different businesses, so yeah, totally guilty of that.
So you'll get my joke, which is that my plate is as full as Thanksgiving dinner every single day.
Absolutely.
Like, that's how I live my life. Yeah, no complaints though, sometimes. You also brought up something really fun about classic Christmas characters and what Enneagram they might be. Can I just throw one out?
Sure.
What would Ebenezer Scrooge be?
So there's a lot of argument about this on the internet, actually.
Really?
And my opinion is very different than anything else I saw out there. Most people would suggest that he might be an 8, which is in the gut triad, so kind of angry. I suggest that he is a counterphobic Enneagram 6. And the Enneagram 6 wants trustworthy information. Scrooge was abandoned as a child by his father, and so the only person he could ever count on was himself. And so he put up all these barriers and stayed up in his own head about what was right and what was wrong, and eventually got to a place of strength by acknowledging the existence of others.
So this is really interesting too. I'm so glad that you brought up 6 again, because when I went through the session, I learned 6 is the only one that has 2 little characters with it. Explain that to people.
So the Enneagram 6 generally is believed to be born as a phobic 6, which comes with a fair amount of anxiety to it. A lot of what if, worst case scenario playing in your head. And that person may adapt to become a counterphobic 6. So a little tougher, a little more of an edge to try to overcompensate. I can give you another Christmas example.
Oh, please do it, yeah.
Our hero of the Polar Express is a phobic 6. So
okay.
the hero boy is anxious. He's not sure he believes in Christmas anymore. He doesn't even believe what's right in front of him when he gets to the North Pole. It's all what if, is it real, until he hears the bells himself.
Yeah. So we needed that confirmation.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it was so fascinating to sit with you through a session. I felt empowered just knowing a little bit more about who I truly was. Authenticity, I'm telling you.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. That's why I do what I do.
And I think you and I gelled so well because we're both 7s. So
Right.
we totally got it. We totally got it. If you want to buy a Christmas present, if you want to do this for yourself in the new year, maybe as a resolution, schedule an Enneagram session with Sam. We're going to have more information on our website, kdka.com/talkpittsburgh.